Arm. I am Supergirl.
Hey guys, just finished watching Supergirl, Season 3, Episode 23, Battles Won, Lost and Won. What an episode the thing is to this episode to end on. What a great ending for this season, and it was really interesting to see all the different things that happened. There were some things that I knew were going to happen because I saw headlines and stuff on my phone and stuff throughout the day and things, and there's a lot of other things that were completely out of nowhere I didn't see coming at all. So let's jump into this. We start off, we see Supergirl and her mother teaming up, protecting the city, and it's really cool seeing Erica Durant and the two of them together doing all that stuff. And it really is awesome seeing that. And we see that quickly on the screen in Catco that Superman saves Madagascar. Would have been cool to get a little bit to see him, Tyler Hoechlin back, but I guess we won't get that anytime soon. James ends up taking his mask off for random person, which was kind of interesting for that character in the moment and stuff. So it was cool there. The Legion is back helping out. They end up getting the distress signal that Mon-El had sent out a long time ago when they were on Argo City and they needed the help, but they never got it, and they just got the signal now. So I think it's kind of like sending a text. It never got out, and then it finally went out, and they got the signal. So, but they're saving the city from all kinds of things debris flying down, and then there's a big tidal wave from all the tsunami that's coming to hit a natural city, and they're freezing it. Supergirl's freezing it with her freeze breath. So is her mother, and then the Legion ship is kind of destroying the whole giant ice sculpture now, and it looks so fake. The CGI in that opening montage. Oh my god, the CGI was terrible. I mean, it is one thing, these shows, they really don't have good CGI. Sometimes Arrow has okay CGI, but that's pretty much because it doesn't use CGI very often, so the rare times that it does do it, it has to be on point, because their CGI budget is only used for, they use all their budget on very little CGI, so it's really kind of terrible. I wish this show could almost double or triple its budget when it comes to CGI and doing proper CGI that looks real and not super fake, because that whole the whole thing, it really didn't work well. It was a cool scene, like the idea of having Supergirl and Allura and the Legion and all that stuff. That was a cool idea. It's just it wasn't executed very well because the CGI looked terrible. And then I was thinking, okay, so they just froze this huge block of water, this huge tidal wave, and they're destroying it. It's shattering to millions of pieces, falling into the water. That's still like giant pieces, all kinds of giant chunks of ice that's kind of fall into the water and create another wave. I didn't understand that idea. Now, if Supergirl had picked up that chunk and thrown it farther out into the ocean type thing, that would have made more sense. If her and Laura had used their heat vision to melt it all down, so it kind of gradually melts and forms back into the water rather than kind of huge chunks. It just didn't make sense to me. If a big building's on the edge of the water falls into the water, it's going to make puddles and it's going to make waves and go into shore. So they probably saved a lot of people doing that. It's just, the CGI was a bit wonky. That didn't make sense to me. It just kind of, it fell flat. The scene. So if they had better CGI, I think it would have looked better, and they could have done a lot more with that scene. Marin ends up giving John one last memory just before he ends up merging with the Earth and saving everything by bringing it back together type thing. That was really cool seeing that, and seeing that last memory that he gave to John not being his own memory or anything, just kind of the original, where the original Green Martian got their memories and their ancient scrolls and stuff. So that was cool seeing that. And then it looks like we see Corville, it kind of survives. He looks like he's up after getting hit by the heat vision, so that was unclear if he did survive the heat vision or not. We later see him in John's ship that the Dark Kryptonians had stolen to get to Earth and stuff, but it's unclear whether or not he did survive that, and he didn't look like he was burnt through heat vision. That's what really didn't make sense with for me in this. There's all kinds of heat vision use and all this stuff, and no one ever even looks like they've been hit by heat vision. Now, I think it should look like a huge gaping hole through his chest, and have like a huge bowl big enough to fit a basketball size through, especially when they just don't let go. I mean, if you want to be precise about it, when Superman wants to, he can be precise. But when you're just like that and you're just kind of destroying something, it should either eviscerate them and there be nothing left, which I think is the only way they could do it for in a TV rating. But without having, a giant gaping hole and through his chest that would be full of blood, and you see his bones and his heart's gone and all that stuff. I feel like that wouldn't fly, obviously, on TV. That wouldn't really work rating wise. It's too violent. But the idea of kind of eviscerating him just like a nuclear bomb, there's nothing left but a burnt shadow into the ground. I think that makes a lot more sense there. So it's just kind of weird how they do that with the heat vision. I understand that they're hitting Kryptonian to Kryptonian, but a regular person with nothing protecting them at all and straight up heat vision, should just eviscerate them or just leave a huge gaping hole through their chest, just like they were pretty much a regular person getting punched by the Hulk would just, leave not really would kind of crush you, but like just like a huge gaping, bigger than a basketball size hole in their chest. But like I said, that wouldn't really work. And then we get word that Brainiac, evil Brainiac, is now alive in the future. So Brainiac ends up telling Wynn and Mon-El that he wants Wynn and Mon-El to go to the future to take his place because rain is stopped to kind of, I guess it said the shockwave throughout Earth type thing, kind of like Flashpoint, and that's where now Brainiac is alive. The evil version, the original Brainiac, is alive in the future, and Mon-El and Wynn need to go there and stop him type thing. So I think that's an interesting idea, playing with that, especially after they played with him, the original Brainiac, evil Brainiac, on Krypton, and on that show. It would be cool to see if that's going to be are they setting him up for the villain for next season. I think that could be really cool seeing that, especially with it looks like Brainiac 5 is going to be sticking around. That could be really cool. We'll have to wait and see how he looks and where things go with that idea. I'll wait and see where things go, and if they decide in Smallville, whenever they had Brainiac 5, and all the different versions, it was just the one actor, and they just reused him all the time. That's why when Brainiac 5 appears, Clark was kind of on edge and thought it was Brainiac. So I think it's going to be interesting to see if they do that on Supergirl. Do they keep the same actor, the same guy who plays Brainiac 5, playing the regular Brainiac if he's a villain for season 4, or do we get a whole different actor playing that version of Brainiac? I think that could be really cool doing that, and I think you could bring in the actor who played Brainiac in Smallville. I know he's busy, or he was busy on the Runaways and stuff, but I think it would be cool to see him joining here. Although it's not, obviously it's not connected to Smallville, but he could play the original evil version of Brainiac. I think that could be an interesting idea, playing with that. It could be really cool seeing him on this show. Could be quite fun there if they're setting up him as the villain. But I doubt it that they're setting him up as a villain, because especially the way things end, they'll go into that for the season 2. They're obviously set up there another villain at the end for season 4, actually. Samantha Aries ends up unlocking her powers with that inside of her. Supergirl and Rain end up hitting, they're flying around, and they bump into the Legion ship, and that kind of crashes and stuff. We don't really see what happens to it, but that's because then Mon-El, Sam, and Allura all get hit by Rain's beam as she gets thrown into like the lava pit, and her heat vision is amplified at that point, because Mon-El's been hit by heat vision. Allura should be hit by heat vision. They should be knocked down, obviously. Samantha Aries, she did have her powers unlocked, so she should be okay from that. Should be like equivalent of, it's Kryptonian and Kryptonian power, so it really shouldn't hurt them that much. But it was interesting to see that, especially how it went right through them. Like, you clearly could see you could probably pause the frame and see where the heat vision goes right through them. And again, no marks. If she's supposed to be, more powerful than them, or while she was in that, her powers were just completely just draining themselves, and she was more amplified the heat vision during that because she was in the fire pit type thing. It would make sense that then they would have like a gaping hole in their chest, there'd be nothing left of them or something, burning crisp. I think that would have made more sense. I just hate it when they show, just to keep it to rating, just because for the show can't show violence when they don't want to eviscerate the character. They just show the body there, and there's like no mark that they were hit. They were just freaking hit by Kryptonian heat vision, and that one was not controlled. It was full force. Kryptonian heat vision, even probably amplified because of the fire. So that again bothers me every time they use the heat vision in this and there. And then Supergirl decides to put on Mon-El's Legion ring and goes back in time to and changes time. And I thought for a second there, is she gonna go use it to fly out in outer space and go turn the Earth around, just like Superman did in the Christopher Reeve movie, which, if I'm not mistaken, there was a comment when we first saw Superman for that those things that he did, that the Christopher Reeve movies are in timeline or part of this continuity type thing, which is cool. That means he did do that, and that idea is possible, is for him to go out in outer space and go around the Earth. But it would be cool to see if Superman can breathe in outer space. I think it would make sense. Maybe he's been on Earth for way more years than Kara, and so he, from a young age, he's been taking in solar radiation, so he's a little bit more stronger because of that. And I think that would make sense to me, but at the same time, we have seen scenes when he was being controlled in last season, when he was being controlled or being poisoned with, I think, was it silver kryptonite, to make him think he was fighting Zod when he was fighting Supergirl, and she took him down. So clearly he's not stronger than her, but I think the idea that he could maybe do things like breathe in outer space, breathe underwater longer than she can, things like that, I think that would make a little more sense, because he's been around he's been more accustomed to the solar radiation and stuff. I think that would make a little more sense to that. So it would be cool to get that idea. And also I'd like to see, we still didn't get the answers to how come Superman has in the Fortress of Solitude the Legion ring. Where did that come from? Is that his ring? Clearly it was his ring. Now Supergirl has her own ring, so where does his ring? Has Mon-El met him and all that stuff? That would be cool. I mean, I know he met him while he was here, but where does all that, when did Superman go into the future and get that? Did he have his own storyline with the Legions, and was it with the Brainiac 5, with Stargirl, or was it with different versions of the Legions from further in the future, or in between there? That would be cool to find that out. And what was the circumstance where he went? Did he go to the future? Did they come back, say, hey, we need you, come with me just a sec, and then bring him back? Or did they come to the past, help Superman with something out, and then go back? That would be really interesting to see, as to where Superman and how he got that Legion ring. What was the story behind that one that's in the Fortress of Solitude that we did see, or think back in first season when Carl brings James actually ends up bringing Kara to the Fortress of Solitude for her to meet that the first time. And she picks up that giant key type thing, which was really cool, made of Dwarf Star. And then we even saw it on the Flash in the first season when he was running through time, when he was running between Earth type thing, and we saw the giant with the ship Flash. We saw Supergirl, and we saw the ring too in the Fortress of Solitude. So that was good for first time crossover type thing with the images over there. So it would be cool to get an answer to that Legion ring, especially with this whole Legion thing going on. It looks like with Brainiac sticking around, maybe we can get some answers to that, but we'll have to wait and see as if he knows anything about that. Maybe at some point next season he could go into the Legion thing and just goes, oh, he has a Legion ring, I don't know about that. And he's like, oh no, maybe it's something to do with the future, so it's something that even Brainiac doesn't even know about. And then whenever we get Superman on again, we get an answers to that. So that could be cool, seeing that maybe this having the Brainiac in the future could be a reason for Superman to go. We didn't see it here, but maybe at one point they need his help. And he's like, oh damn, Legion came back for Superman, I was busy with whatever this season's going to be, and we'll see what things go with that. So Mon-El ends up leaving Kara, gives her the Legion ring. John wants Alex. Alex goes to John. She's about to say, I'm gonna quit this. I want to go raise a family and all that stuff. Raise a kid on my own. That's when John says, no. Here, you take over the DEO. Run it however you want to run it. And you can put everyone else in the field, and you could just sit inside and raise a family and do both type thing. So I'm really glad they found that way to do that. It's going to be cool to see where things go with this. How much do we see John Jones in next season? I think that'd be cool to see that. Hopefully he could be around here and there, but we'll have to wait and see how much we get to see that and how that's going to be with Alex kind of running the DEO and raising a child at the same time. I think that's going to be interesting to see that, and let's see who ends up taking her place. We don't really have anyone on the ground level who's going to be going out in the missions, leading the ops when they're on the field, if Alex is not doing that anymore, and Wind is not around to run the DEO when he's not when she's actually raising her child, because the DEO is not something that's gonna be shut down. Like she can't just work 9 to 5 and then when she's done at 5 o'clock she could just shut down the DEO and that's it. No, someone has to be in charge when she's not there, type thing. I think that's going to be cool to see who they do that. They bring someone else into this, and how things are going to go with that. And I think it's going to be cool to see where things go. And if they bring someone up, I think it's going to be interesting to see who ends up taking her position within the DEO. The Win ends up going to the future. Alora goes back to Argo, which is kind of disappointing. I was hoping that Alora would stick around, maybe stay on Earth type thing. I was hoping she'd be stuck on Earth. I guess she's using John's ship to go back. And again, we still don't know how far it is. How long does it take? It seemed like it was a bit far because they're pretending that it takes so much to get there. But we really don't know how long does it take to get there. Is it going to take a week to get there? Is it going to take an hour? Is it going to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes? How long does it take to get there? And how often can she go back and forth? How much does it, how much gas or power or energy does it use on the ship? And how often can John's ship just go back and forth? On whatever power source it has, type thing. That would be cool to see that. And I would also like to see Alora joining back around, having Erica Durant and Helen Slater as I can't think of her name, but Danvers as Eliza Danvers, and see Jeremiah Danvers meeting Alora would be really an interesting idea to see that, and it would be quite fun to see that. Now, looks like we're not going to get that too much. There's always a possibility, but we'll have to wait and see, especially since now Supergirl can kind of breathe in space with this Legion rank, so that would be cool to see that, where things go with that idea. But hopefully we get to see Alora back, and we could see Helen Slater and all that, everyone meet together, because that would be really cool. Have an episode with Dean Cain, Helen Slater, and Erica Durant all in one episode. That would be really awesome to see that, and it would be quite interesting to see, especially the two of them being scientists, as what their opinions would be and what their questions would be for Alora. Would be quite cool, especially if they could go visit Argo City. That would be pretty awesome too. Brainiac ends up staying back, so that'll be cool to see where things go with that. Does he know? Has he already met Superman, this version of Brainiac, or will he meet him in the future? I think that'd be cool to see that and all that, and where things go with that. James outing himself as the Guardian. Lena, that's where we end the episode pretty much. And then the setup for next season is Lena calls Tessmacher, and they're working on phase 2 on studying the rock that was from Argo City. I forget the name of it. And then we see in Siberia that there's another version of Supergirl. So when Supergirl and Sam went into the mind realm, and they were holding the rock, it, I guess, created an evil version of her, or what we suspect will be an evil version of Supergirl out in Siberia, and that'll be cool to see where things go with that. If I'm not mistaken, it's kind of like the idea in the comic books where there is an evil version of Superman, whereas in a different, I think, Superman Reign, where what if Superman, instead of landing in Kansas and in Smallville, what if his ship had landed in Germany, type thing. I think that could be an interesting idea with that, just seeing as to what's going to happen with this evil version of Supergirl and how things are going to go with that. That'll be cool to play with all that and see how things go. So I think it's going to be cool to see. I mean, I thought at first they were setting up Brainiac as the villain, but I think with this, with having John Jones leaving, Wynn leaving, James kind of out as the Guardian, but no longer, so he might not. That may or may not help them, type thing. It might take a turn for the worse. We'll see where things go with that. But it looks like it's really going to be more of a Kara and Alex centric season going into next season. It looks like a lot of the male leads are kind of going off. Now I don't know if there's there are reasons. Did Jeremy Jordan, who plays Wynn, did he want to leave the show for some reason? And that looks like something I need to look up or something. Did David Harewood, are they even coming back for the next season? I think Wynn probably not. Maybe 1 or 2 episodes. John Jones, we'll see if he ends up coming back. I feel like he might appear in a couple of episodes, but definitely not too many or anything. So that'd be cool to see that. I just see where things go with all this as we go into season 4. So let me know what you think, guys, about this episode in the comments below. Where do you think things are going for season 4? And I'll see you guys in my next video, which should be my Cloak and Dagger episode 4 review. And then tomorrow, Saturday, I'll be watching Luke Cage. I might do that reviewing differently, so it might be multiple episodes per review rather than reviewing every single episode, since I've only had the weekends to do this. and pretty jam-packed my weekends as I work pretty long days during the week. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes
Subscribing.
is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.